Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today I'm joined by DJ. DJ, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thank you for having me today. My name is DJ Casto. I'm the head of HR for Synchrony Financial. I've been with the company for almost 10 years. We were a part of GE Capital and IPO'd and separated kind of the consumer finance business. So we have a lot of credit cards in the US, from Amazon to PayPal to Lowe's, really helping people to finance, their needs.
Excellent. And I know that you have become much more flexible with hybrid work since the start of the pandemic, and you've kept up that flexibility. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you approached hybrid work? What was the transition like, and why you chose to keep flexible while many other companies did not?
So Synchrony pre-pandemic was very traditional when you think about workspace and individuals using our office and kind of what was the requirement pre-pandemic. And so about, I don't know, 86% of our workforce, when we pulsed them, this was 3 months into the pandemic, and asked them, and we were able to get everyone home. We were very unique in that, I have 20,000 employees globally through our technology teams and my operations teams. We were able to get everyone home in about 3 weeks, which I know we were uniquely positioned to be able to do that. And we don't have brick and mortar banks. So for us, most of our engagement with our consumers is through our contact centers. And we would debate long and hard on whether a role could or could not be done at home pre-pandemic. And then in 3 weeks, all of that debate went away because we were focused on our employees' safety and trying to do what was best for them and their families. And so, again, a few months into that, we pulsed our employees and we said, hey, we knew we were never going back to the traditional way because we were getting such positive feedback from the employees with regards to their ability to work from home. So we said, do you want to come in 3 days a week, as we were thinking about some of the longer term strategy investments we would maybe have to make? Or would you like us to think about formalizing your ability to work from home as much as you want? And 86% came back and said they would like the ability to work from home full time. And so with that statistic, when you were 90+% in office prior to pandemic, and now you've got this huge mind shift where employees are looking for us to think about the way we work differently long term, it allowed us to rethink everything. And we anchored our policy, and we have not changed our policy at all since September of 2022. And so we've been in it for a long period of time. And our principle is flexibility and choice. So we still do want our employees to be in a close proximity to one of our hubs. So we have these areas of focus. They can be physical hubs or virtual hubs, but we do want you to live in a close proximity to those hubs, but we do not require you to come in any certain days of the week. We encourage you to come in purposefully when it makes sense. And so we give all our employees, both from the hourly associate all the way to the executive, flexibility and choice to decide what works best for them. And our anchor principle is around trust. And our other key principle is around peak performance, right? So what you do, what works best for you to drive peak performance for yourself and to allow you to be your best for you, both at work and at home.
Okay, excellent. That's really helpful. Now, I've helped over 24 companies figure out what that flexibility means, and most of them have chosen not an individual-based model, but a team-based model. So having teams make the decision on when they come in and for what purpose. And it sounds like you're focusing on individuals. So I'm curious, what caused you to make the focus choice on individuals making a decision to come to the office rather than on teams making a decision on when to come to the office?
Yeah, one was a really strong focus on active listening. So when we did a lot of our listening circles with regards to why do you want us to formalize this new way of working? What we recognized is with the diversity of our workforce came a real diversity of need. And so to put that responsibility and burden on the frontline manager to have to decide and broker with a span of control of 1 to 20 sometimes, where they have 20 direct reports, how are they going to get agreement on which day they come in? What day do they have to collectively be there for a training or for some sort of facilitated meeting? We just didn't feel like it was productive, right? Again, we felt like where we saw more value is let's focus on the work. And so if the manager and the employees brokered together, hey, the four of us probably need to get together for that body of work, then we should do it and we should agree to it. But that doesn't mean we should require the other 16 individuals to come in on the same day that we need to, because if you're truly allowing people flexibility and choice, then that customization is really important, because they might have already made a plan for that Wednesday right after their shift ends that they need to meet a personal need. And if you anchor it to all of the reason, the spirit of all of this is to allow individuals to do what works best for them to drive their peak performance, then we do the opposite of that when we try to create a principle around an entire team. Now, that doesn't mean that, for certain purposeful events. So if we said we are going to do a training once a month, and in that next Tuesday is our February training, we always told our employees that if we give you reasonable notice, you should also be reasonable with us to come together, because again, that would be purposeful work that we believe needs to be completed as a team.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Now, what have you found, so you describe what you're doing, what have you found to be the benefits of this approach? What's been the top 3 benefits or more, or whatever you find to be the benefits of having this kind of flexibility?
I think the first unlock was, it was probably the boldest initiative. And we always say that our way of working is the grand experiment, because we're not trying to pretend like we have all the answers. This is working for us. We know our business model isn't identical to other business models. Our culture, our DNA is going to be different than other companies' culture and DNA. But one of the biggest unlocks that we quickly recognized is we are committed to our work in equity, diversity, inclusion, and citizenship. And the first thing that really happened was true inclusion, right? Everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a frontline contact center associate or a senior executive in the company. Our approach is open to everyone, right? And so you saw people really appreciate and recognize that this wasn't just for one cohort, but for us, we were offering flexibility and choice for all. So I think inclusion and the benefits of inclusion and what that's done for our culture and kind of the outputs of employees feeling even a higher level of engagement has come through in a variety of our pulse survey results and scores. We also have very low turnover. And I think all of this symbolizes for me that it's driving this differentiator, and it's allowing individuals to truly be able to be their best self and to feel even a deeper sense of inclusion. I'd say the second area is I'm able to attract and retain really great talent. I mean, as we pulled ourselves apart from other financial services companies, our applicant flow went up 35%. Oh, wow. And so we just saw a direct correlation that by offering clarity to our workforce and clarity into our rationale, which we're not doing this for a temporary moment in time. We're not doing this for 6 more months because of an extension of the pandemic, but we're just leaning into this is the way in which we're going to work because you've told us this is what you need. And as long as, and this is probably the third real benefit that we saw, it also allowed people to start having even more candid conversations on outcomes around the work, because we always said we're going to do this because it's going to allow our workforce to be their best to drive peak performance, and we have to make sure we're delivering for all our stakeholders. And so we also saw an increase in outcomes and outcome-driven conversations with regards to our employees and their managers. So those are just a few benefits that we believe continued to get better over time as we invested in our way of working.
I imagine I mean, these are really good benefits, but I imagine you had to overcome a number of challenges and probably still are overcoming some of the challenges. What have you found to be the challenges with this way of working?
I think the one area, if I'm going to be truly candid with you today, that I haven't figured out how to provide the best employee experience, and as a result, probably even the best early days of peak performance, is onboarding and training. So, if you think about for us at Synchrony, in the old way, we would have these contact centers where we'd have 1,000 of our associates kind of come in every day, and we'd have these live training classes, and then individuals would get paired with individuals that had been doing the work for a while as coaches, and they were sitting side by side with that new contact center associate, listening to calls together, and then they would debrief those calls, and they would help each other to decide, okay, here is certain ways in which you should engage with the consumer when they ask X versus Y. And although I feel like we're making progress, we just haven't been able to replicate that at home the same way. And we've tried completely virtual training. We're now experimenting with some hybrid training where maybe you come in for the first couple days and then you go home, and then there are these moments within your first year that we think are really critical to kind of continue to invest in you and kind of upskill. So I feel like we're getting better at some of the learnings of what does hybrid training look like. But what we haven't been able to replicate is that peer coach the same way, where you get off the phone or stop chatting, and you can look to the left or the right to one of your colleagues and be able to kind of have a live session with that. We do have chat features within our system capabilities, but it's not a great substitute for that one-on-one coaching that people organically got a lot of when they had the contact center environment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's funny, it's one of the biggest challenges with my clients. So I work with, for example, I've consulted for Atlassian on this topic. I'm literally having a conversation with a new client tomorrow on this topic, and this has been the biggest challenge for folks who are figuring out how to do flexible work. Have you tried doing virtual co-working for solving that problem? I'm curious. Are you aware of virtual co-working? What that involves?
Tell me a little bit more of what that involves.
Yeah. So virtual co-working is where you connect with a peer who is, in this case, would be a sort of assigned as your mentor, and the mentor virtually. So you are on Zoom and they're on Zoom, or if you use Microsoft Teams, whatever. And then you observe them having phone calls, and then you can debrief, and they observe you having phone calls, and then you can debrief. So it's kind of a mentoring session in a virtual format, and it's a virtual co-working session. That has worked quite well in that setting. I'm curious what you've done, if you've actually had that video conference session where people can observe and give feedback quickly and ask questions quickly.
So we have we have a coaching team that is dedicated to helping our associates kind of reach their peak performance, and they are doing a lot of call listening, and then after the call listening, to your point, reviewing the call with them and discussing. I think what I love about what you're saying, which is some of the technology that we're looking at trying to implement, is the live parallel, right?
Yeah,
where
the
they
live parallel.
actually can be live in parallel, and it doesn't disrupt the consumer experience that's coming in. And it also allows more of the real-time coaching, which is the most valuable, right? Which is in the moment or right after the moment. So I think, we've adapted a lot of the agile principles, where we've done several kind of MVPs, kind of that minimal viable product of, okay, let's go test this with a cohort of 50. I'd be very interested in learning more of some of the things that you're speaking of. And we're unapologetic to say we would love to hear others' best practices in this space, if they've advanced in any way, shape, or form, to help what I call the ecosystem, right? You got to create a whole new ecosystem to support our way of working. Some of the ways in which we traditionally did things, you can't just do it the same way, but virtual. You are going to have to reinvent some of the way in which you're supporting your teams, if you're going to fully commit to this being just the new norm.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about this after the interview. But in the meantime, as we're moving closer to finishing up, I'm curious what you see as the future of flexible working at Synchrony. It sounds like you're leaning in, and you'll keep at it, and you'll keep improving the way you're doing things.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the future of work is flexibility. I think, and at the root of flexibility is trust, right? And I think this is what you've heard from many employees in the workforce, that they want their employer to trust that they are going to focus on the goals in which the company has asked them to lead. And if they are doing that, and they are proving out their results through meaningful and measurable outcomes, then we need to adapt and be very open to giving them, candidly, all the flexibility they need to drive that peak performance. And so I think the future of work is flexibility, and those that are committed to it, I believe, are going to have a real competitive advantage on being able to attract, retain, and develop the talent now and the future that they're going to need.
It's clear that you're doing that with your higher applicant flow. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, DJ. This was very helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate you facilitating the conversation, and I appreciate learning more from you as you're leading these conversations in a variety of different forums. But thank you for today.
Of course. And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show, and it helps us improve the show.